first thing I want to do before I start is say that I hope all the sticky buns don't put you to sleep, because it's about 4 in the afternoon. It's been a very long day. I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to break the rules. I'm not going to be talking about sustainable technologies or cities of the future. What I'm going to be talking about is the thing that no one has talked about so far, which is really art and design. And I'm going to do this in two ways. First, I'm going to show you a basic presentation. I'm going to try to keep it to 20 minutes, and then I'm going to do about 10 minutes of Q&A. The reason for this is that it'll keep you awake. And the second thing is I want to try and stimulate an understanding of what it is that's happening locally, so maybe I can answer some questions. A quick little background on myself is that I started off as an engineer, and I did computer science. I worked at research labs like Xerox PARC. I got quite frustrated and wanted to commercialize my own technology and technology of others, so I went into what was called the venture labs, and I started working with scientists to pick the pieces of different technologies that were out there and put them together like a puzzle and then launch new products. I helped out some venture capitalists start a company in New York. We went from 0 to 50 people in 6 months, $13 million in financing, and they are still in business happily, and we're cash flow positive after 4 years, which was right on schedule. And that was at 2000 when the bubble burst. So we were still able to do it. So I guess what's important in that little statement is that in terms of viability, it's the sustainability of that you do something and it sustains itself from a technological perspective in the marketplace. From there, I realized that I wanted to do what I always wanted to do, and I applied for a scholarship and went back to do industrial design. The reason why I did this is because for myself and what I teach my students and ultimately clients to work with is that you have to be able to go from the beginning to the end. Okay, so you need to understand the value chain that companies have. You need to be able to say, I can research it, I can analyze it, I can design it, I can engineer it, and more importantly, I can ship it. Because if you can't, then there's really no point. You're just being a pure artist or a pure researcher, and that's great, right? It's very, very important, but there has to be as much application as there is research, or you just get a glut, and then ultimately things don't get completed. So the reason why this talk is blurring the line is that the piece of the future that I'm going to talk about is not going to be anything that the previous speakers have talked about. It's going to be about how design is going to directly affect your lives in 2058 and the lives of the students in Singapore that are currently going to school. So before I sort of begin, this is a design from Michele Luce in Italy, right? And as you can see, it was a sketch on a piece of paper, and it took him 12 years to realize it for a number of different reasons. Now, Michele is a very famous architect and designer. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to ask questions as I do my speech. Who is the top designer in Singapore right now? Anybody know? That's exactly what I thought. Okay. Now, if I mention the name Philip Stark, does everybody know that name? Okay. You know maybe Kareem Rashid or Ross Lovegrove or any of these other major designers. Well, isn't it funny that Singapore doesn't have one? That's the problem. That's the problem for sustainability of the design community in Singapore. These are some of the companies that we've worked with. Xerox PARC, Dedeker for furniture, Louis Vuitton, Midsar for lighting. It's valuable, right? It's beginning to end. So what I want to speak about is the beginnings of design, the evolutions, and what I expect to happen in 2058. First of all, what is engineering acceptance, or what is the spectrum of engineering? Well, you've got products and you've got R&D. Okay, R&D, at least in the place that I usually work with, is 5 to 10 years out, and it's very exciting because it's the stuff that hasn't been done yet, so to speak. Now, in the art world, design is what's happening in the current, or what has happened. What's socially acceptable is what you buy at a grocery store, the bottle, or a furniture store, the chair. And the farthest reach of that really is art. Okay? Artists are the people that are envisioning the future and putting it in some form that's interesting to the public, maybe painting or graphics or et cetera, et cetera. What is the middle is what they're calling innovation. Now, I don't like this word anymore. And the problem with this word is that there used to be a time when innovation was amazing. I mean, it was something amazing. When I was a kid, this would be my dream, coming to Asia, speaking about technologies, and I realized that, well, unless it was applicable or doable, it was just in the realm of either art or R&D, and it never became real. So then I started using the word innovation before it became popular, because it was the word in the dictionary, and it meant the application of technologies that would become available. It was Schumpeter's word in the 1950s. It meant that something was economically happening. Well, this is how it all pieces together. Okay? You've got social acceptance, which is something that's allowed by the artistic world. That's selling. You've got engineering acceptance, which means I can build the building. I'm allowed to. Okay? And that's what's happening today. But what we're more concerned with here is how the present moves into the future, right? And how they play together so that things continually happen. Let's talk about how it worked in the design world. This Gillette razor was made by the Gillette company, by hand. Okay? A bunch of guys in a room. They were not craftsmen. They were manufacturing. In this particular case, you've got a craftsman. One person with the capability and the tools, and that's how they did it. Right? The Ford car was one of the first assembly line situations where the craftsman was removed for mass production capabilities. This is the past. Is it? No, it isn't the past. It's actually the future. And this is what I'm doing here today, is I'm starting trouble on purpose. Okay? It's kind of what my job is. Right? If I go inside a research lab, I tell the research lab directors, look, you can do this, this, and this. That's my science hat. If I walk into a company and try and design something interesting for them from a sort of aesthetic perspective, I'm specifically starting trouble. I'm going to do something that they don't necessarily like, that they feel uncomfortable with. So the question is, do you believe that the future is actually in the craftsmanship and not in the mass production? Raise your hands. Anybody? A few? A few. Well, I'm going to prove to you. Here's how it's happened from the 50s to the present. Now, there's the capability of design and industrial design, the engineering, and the mass production on an extremely fast scale. How long does can somebody tell me how long it takes to design a new cell phone and get it out to the market? Anybody? I hear 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, 1 year. 1 year from when I sketch it on paper till it pops out of a machine. It's about $11 million to develop a new cell phone. It comes out as fast as fashion. Cell phones are the Louis Vuitton of the future. Okay? Which is great for you women. How does this happen today with products? Well, G. Benoni is a very famous designer for Alessi. The Cinderella chair by Van der Hoeven is a very innovative piece of furniture, and that would be one of ours. We won a design prize. He won a design prize. This guy makes a lot of money. Okay? G. Benoni is one of the funniest guys in Italy because he doesn't care anymore. He knows he's good, and people want his stuff. And all he's doing is using simple plastics, recyclable, simple plastics. Ours won the award because it is made completely out of paper. It's a shampoo bottle for a Japanese shampoo company. This guy, wood and glue. Simple. Now, products, whether you want to believe it or not, have moved from, in the Regency radio example, and let's talk about radio itself really quickly. Okay? It was a push model. There were radio stations, and all you could do is flip the dial. Then comes the Sony Walkman. Now you can carry it around on you. I mean, it's the size of like a brick, but you can carry it around on you, and you got your music, right? Now you've got the world's music. I can listen to any radio station in Singapore, and I do because they've got some great music, right? Especially the techno remix. I'm sorry, but I love music, right? And it's available. But the problem is that it's just more and more and more and more and more. This is the project we did for Louis Vuitton. Now, the reason why this is important is because this is the first step in me convincing you that it's returning to the craftsman-like mentality. This is nothing complicated. These are topiary blocks of live plants. Vuitton wanted a building facade they could put up as a temporary structure during their construction phases. You put it up, you take it down, it takes 2 seconds. All it is live plants. Okay. So let's talk about what's going to happen, because this is why you're sitting here. Right? You're waiting for me to tell you something magical. Well, everything that everybody's talking about today is a given. I think everybody already knows cloud computing, connected systems. You've read about it in science fiction books. It's nothing new. However, the application of it within the context of design is something you probably don't know. Here's how it worked, and I've already basically described it. In the 50s, it was reductionism of the artistic master. Right? The master was no longer important. It was mass production. Then, in the 00s, right, we've got to the apex of manufacturing efficiency. How many iPods can I pump out in 3 seconds? Right? Because everybody in China has to have one, and I'm going to do everything humanly possible to be able to do it. Okay, so we're just getting faster and faster and faster, more efficient. That doesn't mean anything for design. Now, what's going to happen in the next coming wave is that the use of objects is going to become irrelevant. And I think you already know about this, but I'm going to give you an example that my partners made fun of me for. It's called opening the garage door over the roads. Now, Ames, Ray and Charles Ames, made chairs. It was 2 people in a garage in California sketching and making chairs. They produced the chairs for Herman Miller in their factory. And when it got to a certain point and there was a certain demand, Herman Miller said, thank you very much, we'll take over production. And now everybody in every country in the world knows the Ames chair. They sell it in museums. It's like $2,000 to $3,000 US dollars a pop. And it's an icon of the 60s and 70s and the 50s. Well, what's happening today is now you can make your own Ames chair at home and with rapid prototyping be able to get it popped out of the machine and sent to you. Here's the question. Do you think you're going to have one of these in your home in 2058, like a refrigerator? Yes? Very few. One. Interesting. You'll probably have it at the local corner, because Xerox copy machines worked the same way. Copy machines for Xerox didn't come out, and you didn't have a laser printer in your home for 50 years after they developed the technology. It wasn't commercially viable. This will happen slowly, but you will have it. You will be able to say, I want a cell phone that's a cube today. I want a cell phone that looks like a ball today. I want a cell phone that looks like whatever you want. And this is how it's done. These are real 3D rapid prototypes popped right out of a machine, and then you sit on it. It takes about 4 to 5 hours, depends, okay? But basically, the Diamond Chair by Nendo is a chair that comes out of the rapid prototype machine, and then that's it. So if you have a party and you want to design your own chair, you get it. Same thing with the C2 chair. That came right out of the machine, just like that. Same thing with the Ghost chair by Philip Stark. Right out of the machine, just like that. What does this mean for designers in 2058? It means that your children and your children's children are going to be able to make objects as fast as they can make web pages, as fast as they got to print out an invitation to their friend's birthday party, because these printers are going to be the printers that you have on your desktop today. So what does that mean for your companies, or better yet, for your country? Well, in the future, as you can see by Muji, products are starting to lose their identity. A clock is now really simple. A pen is now really simple. So merge this with this, and you get the capability to make whatever object you want. And the functional capabilities will be software that are embedded inside the systems that run your city. So let's talk about how we're going to do it. Well, take a guess. They're already doing it. This is an MP3 player. Looks like a rock. What if that were the key to your house? This cell phone looks like a bar of soap by Fukasawa. He also has an IDEO in Japan. What's Singapore doing? I don't know. Do you? Does Singapore have a famous designer? Are these the types of products that are being pumped out of Singaporean companies? In the future, you're going to be able to have basically a capability to grow your own products. If you want a set of speakers that looks like that, download it, print it out. If you want to change it, if you want to stretch it, all the tools that you have now, like Photoshop, Illustrator, all of those manufacturing tools, or tools for design, are going to be plugged into these systems. It will be a connected capability to develop and produce products on the individual level extremely quickly. Now, here's where I get into a little bit of technology. Some of the stuff you've seen, some of the stuff you think doesn't work, some of the stuff you say may work, it's all real, but it's not all connected yet. For instance, you can make fun of this thing all you want, okay? You can make fun of Tom Cruise all you want. But you know what the most powerful tool is? Take a guess. What's the most powerful tool for a designer? Pencil. Okay, pencil. Funny part is that you don't think that this is important because you use the mouse and you use everything else. Pretty soon I'll be able to go like this and do stuff. And that's exactly what was done, okay, in, not there. Oh, that's good. I pulled it off the web. I didn't put it in the presentation. Okay. There was a movie where they had this big table, and the person was sketching on the table. And as they sketched on the table, the image of the object came up right in front of them with a 3D holographic printer, camera, projector. There's a company called IO Squared. They do this now, but they don't have the pen built in yet. What I'm saying is that in the future, because of things like grid computing, things like the availability of simple systems, I mean, even upstairs, or in the building, upstairs, there's a scientist that's got one with a pen with a laser pointer. And I really harassed him yesterday. I said, why can't you do it with your finger? And he gave me 15 different reasons. So I took my pen, right, and I went like this. I said, I'm kind of curious, but can it track that spot? Can the system track that spot? Is it that difficult? And he says, oh, no, you have to have a laser pointer. And I said, okay. It will, guaranteed. So the systems will disappear, the products will disappear, everything is going to disappear, and the perception of an object will no longer be associated with its function. I don't need a set of keys anymore. I don't need to use this thing anymore. I don't need to have a watch anymore. Who's designing these systems? Some of the people in Singapore are. These are the things that are going to start to happen with design. All of the things that you normally use are going to disappear. You're going to have one tiny spot on your finger that's not even necessary. You can wash it off. Maybe you'll wear a ring that you'll just go like this with. The complaint was, oh, well, you can't spend your days going like this. I said, well, put a camera on the floor. How much is a $3 camera? I mean, do you know how much it costs to make a small webcam? You can't go like this for 2 seconds. All of these things are going to come together. I don't have the answers for how they're all going to work. But from a designer's perspective, they will automatically come together to allow me to do simple things like printing out whatever I want. This is how it all comes together. You have to be comfortable with the idea of the design, production, engineering, and manufacturing timeline. I've given you a few key ideas of what could happen in 50 years from the designer's perspective. But if I look at what's happened from being a designer when I was a kid with a Commodore 64 to what I can do now, it's basically the same stuff, except it's a lot more powerful. And considering what I can do and my team can do with industrial design now, I'm sure you can see where it's going.